All right, this is gonna be a fun one today, guys. Stick with me here. It looks like my question and answer video is gonna be a little bit more of a roast John video. All right, so check this out. Do you actually think you're getting better at riding off-roads? You say that you make good decisions occasionally on your videos. I'm not sure we've seen any. Are you sure? You can't make this stuff up. All right, we're gonna have some fun. Stick with it. Question and answers. Here we go. All right, let's see if the roast continues here. We'll start with, I'll save some of the more interesting ones to the end. You guys didn't pull any punches. All right, first of all, one of the most often questions I got is, what do I use for trip planning in reference to GPS? What do I use on my route? So I have two different things here on my Carpu Ride, which is my Android Play, if you will. I connect it to my phone. So my GPS screen is Gaia. I like that because all the options, I can put waypoints in. It just allows you to do a lot of things. Waypoints, naming points, multiple routes. You can add almost anything you want to Gaia. Secondarily, on my quad lock here with my phone, which I'm doing my questions on, I keep Rever. The reason I do two, and I've talked about it on multiple trip videos, I kind of pointed out. I think Rever, as far as visually seeing the route, is just bigger, easy to identify. It's the strict route itself. So I use a combination of those two, Gaia on my GPS unit and Rever on my phone. So the surprising question of the day is 2-up on the Himalayan. Have I done 2-up? If I have, how did it go? Obviously, it's a little bit smaller bike. It's a 411. So we did 2-up on most of the east. This is east. West Coast trip. It went really well. No type of power issues. We had to do some interstates because that was the only way to get from tourist spot number 1 to tourist spot number 2 or to our off-road connections. 70 miles an hour was perfectly fine. I've mentioned 9,000 times on this channel, I'm not the person that loves to rip it on the highways, or I wouldn't have this bike. But no power issues, getting up to speed issues. Comfort level, I asked Missy all the time after the ride so I could report back to this video. Was it comfortable? Are you fine? She had no problems whatsoever. And it won't be any fun if I don't go back to that first question when I was laughing in the beginning. So, do you actually think you're getting better at off-road riding? And again, it's a good question. I find it hilarious. Absolutely. When I, what is it? Almost a year and a half ago exactly, beginning of this channel, when I bought this bike, I had literally never ridden a motorcycle in my entire life. My first ride, which was the Sandhills in the SCAR, South Carolina Adventure Route, is just like a Florida beach, man. Thick sand, crazy. So a lot of falling, a lot of learning, and I was really, really bad at adventure riding, let's just be honest. A year and a half later now, Georgia Traverse, Smoky Mountain 500, Appalachian Mountains, the northern Alabama mountains, all of this stuff. And then I took it out west last year and did some desert riding, including Pink House Canyon, if I get that name right. I'll throw the video up here if I can. A 27-mile Jeep trail with just pure sand and gravel. And then to some obstacle courses, all the way up to just a couple months ago when I ran up to Tennessee and did a obstacle course training session, which was phenomenal, with Brock from Moto Mission. That dude can ride, and Sean with Bikes and Beards. What a learning curve that was, just the really slow, minute things. So I've done multiple things to learn as far as education. I definitely have a lot to learn and a lot to grow. No problems there. You're not going to hurt my feelings. It's okay. So yes, I've learned a lot. I've grown a lot. I am a much better rider, and I have a lot more to learn. So this is a really good question here. I don't know which of the two that you might be referring to, but did your adventure course help you with your skills? And both of them is a dramatic yes. You can always grow, like when I was doing the SCAR, the Smoky Mountain 500, the Georgia Traverse. As you're riding and you do something, you're getting better, you're growing, and you're becoming a better rider. The opposite of that, on the obstacle course, when you get the chance to ride something, do as good as you can, mess up where you are, and immediately go back to it. You're not going to do that on a trip, but immediately just do it again and again and again to repeat that functionality. My skills grew exponentially at that point. So yes, I'm not sure what you're referring to, the Palmetto ADV or the obstacle course in Tennessee with Brock, but the answer is an absolute yes. Probably the second most popular question, and the one I was kind of looking forward to answer, hoping that somebody would ask it. What was my favorite adventure, or routes? There's so much that goes into this. Let me try to break it down as much as I can. So I think overall, my favorite adventure or route, just, you know, in a vacuum in that zone, was the Georgia Traverse, because I love a challenge. I love to have to overcome something. If you're familiar with the Georgia Traverse, it's a little more rough of an area. The Georgia the Georgia clay is crazy. A lot of river crossings. And then in classic Moto off-road adventures, kind of john that up. We're not too far from the start. It's only, I want to say, a couple hours to the very start of that. We already had the days planned. It rained for 5 straight days before we left. The day we left, there was no rain. By the time we got there, the next 2 days, it rained again. So a bunch of rain made it harder, made it muddier, made the river crossings pretty crazy. So it was just the most challenging trip. I really enjoyed that the most. It was crazy. I highly recommend watching those videos. Yeah, Barry, my adventure buddy there, from Fire and Ice Outdoor Gear, had some fun times. That was a good trip. Check it out. All right, another fun one here. This is kind of on the roast section of John, but asked more nicely, so I appreciate it. What was the most embarrassing thing that's happened to you on your bike? I don't know if there's a ton of embarrassing stuff, because I don't embarrass easy. I'll make an idiot of myself and enjoy it. But maybe it does, because it definitely sticks out. The last day on the MABDR, so it must have been the last night, and they were going to ride to the New York border that next day. Really cool campground. We came in, and there's kind of like a hill on each side, and then plenty of flat land to camp. In the morning, when I was just going to turn my bike around, it's morning, all the campers are out talking and staring. So one time I had to stay in a campground because there's nothing else there. We're kind of in a slot canyon. And so, you know, it's an easy way to turn your bike around. You just ride up the hill, ride down, and go. So I powered up the hill, and I must have put the bad clutch or bad movement, but right when I needed to put my foot down, there was no placement. So at like a half a mile an hour, started my bike, went up just to turn around to take everything down, and fell with everybody looking at me. Like, I have no idea what I'm doing on a bike. No comments. But it was ridiculous. It looks like I asked somebody else to move my bike for me, and because they don't know how to ride a motorcycle, they fell in 2 seconds. That's probably the most embarrassing. Thanks for asking. What is my favorite piece of camping gear? I do a lot of camping. So you've seen a bunch of camping on this bike. I spend a lot of nights out there. I also do a lot of backpacking with my wife. So last year we've done Yosemite National Park, a 7-day backpacking trip there, including Half Dome. If I can get a link here, if anybody likes backpacking, that was crazy. I'll put a link here. The Pinhoti Trail, the Appalachian Trail, the list goes on and on. Foothills Trail in South Carolina last year. So I use my gear a lot. I would say overall, it could be the stupidest little thing, but everybody's gonna be different. You asked the question, I'll answer it. My favorite piece of camping gear is my quilt, my hammock gear camping quilt. That thing is amazing. It's a 20-degree quilt. I've had it down on the Appalachian Trail. My wife and I, yeah, surprise, surprise, you hiked the Appalachian Trail. One of these days, I'll stop talking about it so much. I hiked the Appalachian Trail, and a special storm in 2019 is when we did it. A polar vortex came through, so our overnight went to -3. I have a 20-degree quilt, and it kept me perfectly warm. Not overly warm, but no shivering, great warmth. Anyway, skip all the details and the tech stuff. Hammock gear makes great stuff. The hammock gear quilts is my favorite piece of camping gear. All right, this question I like a lot, is well thought out. You mentioned that you're coming from the backpacking world. How do you compare and contrast adventure riding to backpacking? Which do you like better? Those are, so I'll try to keep this short. Okay, so, wow, that's a great question. Which do I like more is tough. How do I compare them? Both are great. I get to see more and do more on the bike because I can go farther. It's not my body power, can get up and down. And obviously one day of motorcycling, one day of hiking, you get a lot more distance on the motorcycle. I can get to crazier things. So the rules are really the benefit of the adventure bike. A couple of the downfalls, kind of the backpacking world, I can stop and take in any sight I want. You just stop and plant your feet, and there you go. It's beauty. I can take it in. I can just stop, have a snack, and stare at anything. On the bike, adventure bikers out there, you have to have a safe spot to stop on, uphill, downhill, craziness, sand. So a little bit of difference there. Man, overall, I mean, backpacking is my first love. If I had to choose, and it's unfair to make me choose, but if I had to choose, I think backpacking would be slightly ahead for a few different reasons, but I absolutely love adventure motorcycling. In my backpacking world, the Appalachian Trail through hike was kind of the kingpin of what I wanted to do, and I've got that done. In the motorcycling world, I think that the Trans-America Trail all the way across the United States would be the pinnacle of that, and I'm building towards that. Challenging question, very good. So if I had to do it all over again, if I could put myself back to day one, would I buy the Himalayan? As I was asking, yes, would I buy the same bike? I haven't found anything else I would like better. There's a few caveats in that. I am 5'9" at best, between 5'8" to 5'9". I got a 30-inch inseam, I think. So just fit and finish, how I sit on this bike and how it works for me. I don't think there's anything better. The only thing right now that I would probably consider, but I'd have to get it off-road somehow. If somebody would allow me to test drive it off-road, would be the new 450 Himalayan. I've ridden a lot of bikes. I've ridden multiple BMWs. I've ridden the V-Strom, the Tenere 700 at the obstacle course, and a few other bikes anyway. But really, size, as far as height and comfortableness, I think the answer would be yes. I think I would do this exact same bike again. All right, I'm gonna ravel off a couple that are not so adventure bike centric. For those who ask the questions, I love it. It's all good. I'll just keep this mostly to the bike side. 1, did I build my own Sprinter van? 2, do I ever feel like Chris Farley living in a van and a tiny house? And 3, what was it like to through hike the Appalachian Trail? So I'll cover those 3 real quick. Stick with me, and we'll get back to the adventure bike stuff because I like these. I did build my van in 2018 before we hiked the Appalachian Trail. So I did build it myself. I am not a handyman or a carpenter, so it was a big pain in the butt, but it came out really nice. Glad I did because of the cost difference. But yeah, we built our own van, traveled in it full time for 3.5 years, and continued to travel in it. Let's see, since I have an amazing memory, Chris Farley. It's referenced all the time. My wife and I laugh about it all the time. When I do park right by a river, so we were in, the Olympic Peninsula. We're sitting right outside Olympic National Park in Washington, and we're at the river. I think it might have been the Rogue River, but don't copy me on that. Quote me on that. Yeah, that too. And you do feel like, you're living in a van down by the river. Definitely need that second cup of coffee. So yes, absolutely. 3, what was it like to through hike the Appalachian Trail? Absolutely amazing. It was been a big budget list goal of mine. My wife and I backpack all the time. It was a huge undertaking, took forever to schedule, and a lot went into it, but it was absolutely amazing. Excuse me, if you're ever looking to do a huge thing like that, for me it'll probably be the Trans-American Trail or something like that. Go for it. Make it your priority and give it a go. If you have any additional questions about through hiking or long distance adventure riding, you can post the questions below on this video as well. But it was amazing. I like this one. I like this one a lot. What is the absolute worst weather that you have ridden in? There's definitely been a few, but it has to be the torrential rain on the MABDR. I want to remember the sections and I can't, but it's the episode where I was freezing and then went down for coffee. About halfway through the adventure, I just don't remember the exact spot. And Barry had to get his BMW into the shop, so we split that day. But It was supposed to be the first day of no rain. Saw the clouds, came in. It was an absolute downpour. I had to keep wiping. There was a bridge that was out, so I had to drive backwards about 5 miles in the pouring rain, then go to version number 2 where I should go. That road had road construction, so I had to ride another back in the rain. So I did about an extra 40 or 50 minutes and barely can see downpour. I had to go up the Appalachian Mountains, over some dirt, all the way back down. Craziness, I'll skip ahead, but that was definitely the worst. Barely could see, having a little bit of issue keeping my temperature up, not much. I was in a bunch of layers, but it felt really good to finish that section and get some coffee at the coffee shop. That was the craziest day. All right, another good one here. So what is the worst crash that I've had? Nothing dramatic, but I would say definitely on that Georgia Traverse when that clay finally won out. I was coming around a corner, and the corner for the most part had straightened out, but there was a huge amount of mud, water, pit in the middle. I was on the right-hand track, and the middle was solid mud, not in water. So stupid as me, I'd lean over to get that middle line. That looked much better, but they always say when you're on horrible terrain, what's the best line to find? The line you're currently in, and just ride through it. So when I went over and came back, I lost it, whipped around a couple times, slid into the ditch pretty good. And so my leg was pinned underneath the bike, lower speeds, no injuries, nothing like that. But either would had to crawl out in the pure mud, which the whole bike and I was already muddy. But Barry was there, lifted up. Took us a while to get it out of the ditch because it was all mud. It was a mud bath of craziness. That's probably the worst crash that I've had. All right, and we saved the best here for last. I'm gonna get back to one of the questions I said in the intro. You've mentioned on your videos that you make good decisions sometimes, but we haven't seen it on the videos. Are you sure you do? And I still love this question. So let me answer it wholeheartedly. It might have been a joke being asked, or it might have just been honest, because, you know, hey, I make some interesting decisions, questionable decisions, that too. I mean, I think I do. Traditionally, I try to stay safety first, and I try to underride my skills. Now, I'm becoming a better rider, believe it or not, and my skills are increasing, so my riding style is increasing, still trying to stay underneath those skills. But I know what video you're probably referencing. In the video that I bent my handlebars, when I got on the bike, I said, now I've got to remember that I didn't replace my rear tire before this trip. So now I can't get crazy. I've got to make good decisions and stay on decent land, because I knew I'd have issues if I got aggressive in the wilderness with that tire. That was at the end of its life. Then 4 minutes into the go, without stopping and even looking, go right into a muddy water bath, trying to go around it, slide down pretty hard, and number one, bend my handlebars, and I'm on the other side of the country. I'm not coming home for weeks and weeks and weeks. And number two, I hurt my knee a little bit. I don't know if I hyperextended it or when I dab stepped to kind of try to control it. And I don't know if I didn't dab step perfectly where you step in, you know, you want to be a through motion. Either way, one of the most important backpacking trips of my life, minus the AT, Appalachian Trail, is why we're over there. With 2 friends, you have to have special permits. It takes forever to plan. It's hard to get these permits. We went all the way over to Yosemite to hike through the entire backcountry of Yosemite. 7 days, including a Half Dome hike. And if you haven't seen Half Dome, check it out. It is sheer craziness. I've been looking forward to it forever, and I made a bad decision, damaged my bike, and damaged my knee, not knowing if I was able to make that backpacking trip, which was, I think, started in 48 hours. So yes, I get the video referring to. That was a horrible decision, and I've made other horrible decisions, I won't lie. But yeah, I think I make good decisions at a high percentage in my decision-making time. How about that? And I definitely make some dumb ones. Trying to make better decisions, and listen, when I make the dumb ones, it makes a better video anyway. So, but that's the answer to your question. I am getting better at that, and sometimes you just, you know, what happens, happens. But I think that probably last couple are fun. Probably covers most of the questions. I'll do a part 2. I still have some questions I left out because they were asked similar to other ones. But there you go. It was fun. Thanks for the roast. Good time. Any additional questions or additional questions based on my answers, feel free to comment below. Oh man, guys, this is the main thing is, as always, live your adventure, have some fun, be kind. Hopefully it's been cold and rainy here. We'll get back out and do some more of the SCAR and some additional adventures, trying to get the Northeast BDR and some things planned. And we will see you on the next adventure.